Hi, my name is Kingery. On April 21st, 2004, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of only 15. Millions of children and adults have diabetes of various kinds, and I would like for you, this year, on November 14th, 2010, to be aware of diabetes. Often, diabetes is overwhelming, stressful, certainly life-threatening, and sometimes we feel like we're doing it all alone. But if we have you to hear our stories and to remember them, we would feel like we have an army of supporters backing us every step of our painful and time-consuming journey. I want to ask you not to feel sorry for diabetics today, but I want you to really listen and remember. Please hope with us for a cure for diabetes.
I didn't know about diabetes in the past. I knew it was just something that was wrong with your body, something with insulin, something with blood sugar. I used to think that you just stuck yourself with a needle, kind of like a pill, but you had to inject it, and you just did it once a day, and that was it. Now I know it's much more than that. It's, constant checking up on your blood sugar, constant worry, constant just uptake of your body just to make sure that you feel good and that your body is working the way it needs to be.
Having a life with diabetes is challenging, but I think that a lot of people have a misconception that having diabetes somehow alters your life in only negative ways. But honestly, if I didn't have diabetes, I don't know, I just don't feel like I would be, well, obviously I wouldn't be the person that I am right now, but it's taught me responsibility, and it's taught me to rely on people, which is really hard for a lot of people, but especially for me. I've always been really stubborn, and I don't know, it's hard for me to ask people for help even now, but when you have diabetes and you get in a sticky situation, it's inevitable. You have to rely on your friends and learn to teach them what to look for, what to do, so it can get really tricky and complicated. My day usually starts out a little bit different than most people. I have to check my blood sugar, give myself 2 types of insulin in the morning, one for whatever I'm eating for breakfast, and one that is a long-term insulin that spreads out throughout the day. Basically, when you have type 1 diabetes, your pancreas either stops making insulin altogether or only makes a tiny amount, which isn't enough to really sustain you. So, interestingly enough, after I was just filming that last segment, I started kind of feeling a little shaky. When you have a low blood sugar, you get kind of trembly, a little hot, at least I do. Sometimes I get headaches, but right now I'm going to check my blood sugar. This is my meter, and in here is what's called a lancet. It's like a little tiny needle. So I test on my finger, and the blood goes on the test strip, and then you just wait for the countdown. Really exciting. And then I'll see if I'm correct, and my blood sugar is low. 2 seconds. Wow. Definitely not low, it's definitely high. Which I thought about because I don't have insulin right now for my long-term insulin. I'm picking it up in half an hour, but I ran out and had to call it in yesterday at the pharmacy. So my blood sugar numbers have been running a little high. To combat that, I just give myself more of my regular insulin, which is in this. It's called an insulin pen, and you attach the needle on the end here. So probably should leave now and go do that. So that's what I'm going to do.
Carrie, what exactly do you mean when you say your blood sugar's high?
High blood sugars usually cause blurred vision, frequent urination, extreme thirst and hunger, nausea, and various other symptoms that are usually inside the body. When a person has a high blood sugar, really the only way to combat it is to give additional insulin. But if a person's blood sugar elevates to extreme levels, the diabetic will need to go to a hospital because diabetics with extremely high levels of glucose are at risk for severe diabetic coma.
So I am at CVS Pharmacy, and this is the only time I feel like a drug addict because I'm in the parking lot about to inject myself. It's a little nerve-wracking because, you know, somebody could see me, potentially. $65 for 2 types of insulin, and that's just copay. I don't even want to know how much the actual insulin is. Someone was telling me yesterday she was having a hard time getting a refill for her daughter who's 9 and diabetic, and apparently without her copay it would be, I want to say it was like $600, maybe that's an exaggeration, I don't know. So, just like that, I already injected myself. You probably didn't even see me flinch. And I feel better already just knowing that it's in my system. I don't have to worry about it anymore, so that's kind of a good feeling. Okay, so I did my babysitting today and got my insulin picked up from the pharmacy. And I'm thinking my blood sugar is probably high right now because I'm super thirsty. So I'm going to be checking it again. Hopefully it's gone down sometime since the last time I videoed. When your blood sugar is high, you're usually really thirsty, your vision is a little bit blurry, sometimes you get hungry, it just depends on the person, but those are the main things. So to give myself insulin, I use a Humalog pen. This is what it looks like. And Nico, be quiet. You attach the needle on the end, and then you dial up however much insulin you need depending on what your blood sugar is. So mine is a little bit high right now, so I'm going to give myself a little more than usual. I'm going to give myself, usually I would give myself 3 units for a full glass of Gatorade. I'm going to do 4 just because I think a full glass of Gatorade is like 16 grams of carbs, which would be 2 to 3 units of insulin. So I'm giving myself another unit. It's really complicated, but when you have to learn it, you do learn it, and then it's not so complicated. I usually inject into my stomach. You can also inject into your thighs, back of your arms, any place that there's a little bit of extra fat that you can inject into. So that is...
What does it mean to have a low blood sugar?
A low blood sugar is when the body makes too much insulin. Diabetics experience a feeling of low blood sugar through shakiness, dizziness, headaches, irritability, and confusion. These things can be uncomfortable and really scary. If you know a diabetic and you see that they're experiencing a low blood sugar, they can treat this blood sugar and elevate it by eating a couple pieces of hard candy, drinking some orange juice, apple juice, or grape juice, or about the size of a can of soda, regular, not diet. You can help the diabetic by providing these things for them when you know that they're experiencing a low blood sugar. Just remember what you're learning. So, I didn't get a chance to videotape this, but I definitely just dug this vial of insulin out of the trash can. Classy. I put it in the paper bag that CVS gave me right after I used it in the parking lot, and then accidentally threw the bag away. So I had to just go dig through our trash can, which was really gross, but another classy moment in the life of a diabetic. So anyway, this is Lantus insulin. This is the long-term insulin that I talked about this morning that I was missing. I have to take it 10 units in a syringe instead of the pen that I showed you earlier in the morning, and then 10 units at night. So I turn it upside down. First, push all the air out of the syringe,
draw back to the number 10 and make sure there are no air bubbles. If there were air bubbles, which there aren't, you'd have to flick them out like you see, you know, in the movies. So that's it. Again, stomach, leg, wherever, easy, and try not to hurt yourself too badly. Sometimes it does hurt. That one didn't. And then usually wait a couple seconds and then pull it back out. My favorite book, or one of my favorite books, is an autobiography called Sweet Invisible Me. It's by Diabetic. One of the things she describes is that as a teenager, she was never one who would want to self-mutilate herself, and yet she was in the hospital being taught how to, you know, put intrusive objects into her body that pained her. And I always found that really interesting, because it is ironic and weird that we have to shove needles into our body for good reasons. So, interesting. I put my old needles in either like Mountain Dew bottles, or coffee canisters work great because they're sturdy and hard and needles can't puncture through them. Some people get the actual like boxes like you see in the hospital, but this is what I used. And that was all for my evening routine. Really tired, as you can probably tell. My blood sugar is still running a little bit high because I missed, you know, that morning long-term insulin. But I'm sure by tomorrow it'll be a lot better. And other than the things you've seen, my life is normal. I mean, I babysat all day, watched a movie, ate some ice cream. I just have to be more careful than most people and be really aware of what my body is telling me. So those are really the high points and low points. I'll also include some other information in this video that you might find helpful, and I hope that this was interesting for you. Thanks!
Type 1, or juvenile diabetes, is what I have. It is often diagnosed in children, teens, or young adults. Type 2 diabetes is diagnosed later in life. And the third type is gestational diabetes, which is found in pregnancy and usually lasts the span of the pregnancy. For more information about diabetes, how it can affect you, if you're at risk for diabetes, and signs and symptoms of diabetes, please visit www.diabetes.org, the American Diabetes Association website. Thank you so much for listening, and please spread awareness and educate those you love about diabetes. Diabetes has impacted every area of my life. It has invaded every moment of my existence, but it has not stopped me. The reason for that is not only because of me and my strength. The reason for that is you. I want to take a moment to thank all of you who have been here for me along this journey, who continue to ask questions, to learn, and to spread the news about diabetes, what it is, and that it can be lived with and conquered. Thank you to my friends, thank you to my family, my faith family. All of you have surrounded me with love and support in this journey and continue to do so, and I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Thank you for taking the time to love and care for me and help me even when I've been stubborn, and I ask that you continue to do the work and to spread awareness about diabetes.
Nico, what do you think about me having diabetes? Yeah, I don't like it either.